Hi, I'm Dylan Paris. I make videos about music and technology and sometimes music technology, where the two meet. And today I want to talk about my journey with DAWless gear, groove boxes, synthesizers, etc., and how that detour led me to basically selling all of my DAWless gear and refocusing on software-based music production. I feel like this isn't a journey you see on YouTube a lot. Synthesizers film really well, groove boxes film really well. And there's something really exciting about the prospect of a cheap or relatively cheap device compared to a really powerful computer and all the peripherals you need for music production. There's something about something like the MC707 or the MPC Live that's just, inspiring. You see it and you think about all the things you could do with it. And don't get me wrong, these machines are really great. I didn't sell these machines because they couldn't do what they were advertised to do. I got rid of these machines because they couldn't do what I wanted them to do. And that's an important difference to recognize, because there's going to be a lot of people who watch this video, presumably, who actually would really benefit from one of the many different DAWless boxes out there. And we're kind of in a golden age of standalone music production devices. My first groove box was a pocket operator. I then got a Novation circuit, an OPZ, an MPC Live, which I sold, a Digitone, a Digitakt. I sold those and eventually got an MC707. I also tried out the MPC Live again and the Akai Force. And if you've been watching this channel for the last couple of years, you've maybe seen some of those videos. I know I have a huge subset of viewers who are here for iPad music stuff, and y'all will probably be happy to know that I have the M1 11-inch iPad Pro with 1 terabyte and 16 gigs of RAM on the way. It gets here tomorrow, which is very exciting. And that is a mild spoiler for the direction I'm going in, which is really focusing on using the software tools I know and love and seeing what else I can do with them by focusing on increasing my skill set rather than trying to learn new hardware. Jeremy Blake, aka Red Means Recording on YouTube, offers paid mentor sessions, which are really cool. And I took him up on that to talk about YouTube growth and to talk about just kind of, random stuff with music and tech. And he talked a lot about the time investment. And he's talked about this before on his channel as well. But he's talked about the time investment that it takes to learn a new piece of gear and how much you have to put into it to really understand it. And you can see him doing this right now in his Octatrack videos, which are super cool. And it's really exciting to see someone like Jeremy take on the Octatrack workflow, because that is such a dense workflow from an outsider perspective. And don't get me wrong, one of the most exciting things to me about DAWless gear is the challenge, is learning a new UI paradigm, learning a new way of making music. The problem for me is that my most important goal with music production is sound quality. In some ways it's complexity. It's my ability to alter the sounds. It's the variety of sounds I can produce. Limitations, as I've said before, can be immensely productive. Jack White is a huge proponent of it. The Beatles recorded most, if not all, of their albums on 4-track tape. Famously, overdubbing and such. There was more to it than that, but many less tracks than what I have, even on, an MC707. However, for me, because I was already really well versed in Ableton and Logic and many of the great iPad apps like Chord Gadget 2, GarageBand, Cubasis 3 and 2, and so many of the wonderful plugins that you almost don't have time to name, but just for a couple: Xeon, Digital D1, Drum Computer, Beat Hawk. There's so many amazing, really cheap iPad sound generating devices. Going from those to something like the Novation circuit is rough for me. Now, the first thing you get is tactile control. And I think if anyone was to really make a counter argument to what I'm going to talk about in this video, or what I am talking about, it would be tactile control, right? I mean, touchscreens are great, and I think it's way better than a mouse and keyboard for the feeling of playing digital instruments. But neither of those workflows hold a candle to physical knobs and buttons and keys and pads. There's something so amazing about feeling that interaction with, a hardware piece of music production gear that you don't really get with an iPad by itself or a computer by itself. Now, the good news is that you can add peripherals to computers and iPads that allow you to create hardware interfaces or use hardware interfaces for your software tools. And that's really the solution for me. That's one of the actual things I've taken away from hardware gears, how much I like elements of it and how much I want to reintroduce those to my electronic music production. Now, I've never been one of those people who just draws in MIDI notes. That's not for me. I've learned many instruments throughout my life. I'm by no means an expert in any of them, but I do prefer to play my music. Even if I apply quantization later, which is essentially time correction, and I don't do as much of that as I used to, I really like the feeling of playing what I'm playing and then having that play back in either a loop or a recorded linear arrangement. And so for me, hardware interfaces have always been a part of my workflow, but I didn't fully understand what I was doing with them. I was just using the keyboard, or I was just using the octave keys, or maybe the mod wheel, maybe the pitch wheel. Playing with hardware groove boxes has really opened my eyes to editing synth parameters, editing sound parameters. There's a lot of stuff that's available in almost every type of music production that I wasn't paying attention to. I was a preset guy. And to be clear, I kind of still am a preset guy. That just means that when I use an instrument, a software instrument, a hardware instrument, that I mostly use pre-made sounds. They can be categorized like bass, lead, pad, keys, whatever. But I use sounds that other people have designed and then alter them. What hardware groove boxes and hardware synthesizers taught me are some of the fundamental principles of sound design that allow me to better understand what's happening when a synthesizer produces sound, when it's synthesizing a noise. Taught me about what subtractive synthesis is, what FM synthesis is through the Digitone. And it also gave me a good ear for how to add effects, what effects are good, what is too much, what is too little. And so I'm forever grateful to those hardware devices, because even though all of those settings are available in software, there was something about having tactile connection to them that made me realize how important they were and how cool it was to be able to affect those in real time with hardware. And so that's why I like something like the Ableton Push, which I've made some videos about. My videos talking about the push tend to be kind of popular. My videos actually using the push tend to be not as popular, which is interesting, but it probably just speaks to how many people are using that tool as compared to how many people are interested in watching people use the tool. That said, it's a really awesome way to make music with a computer, and it's kind of my preferred way, because I have access to all of the sounds I love on my computer, but I have the physical interface of something like an Akai MPC or an MC707 with less track limitation and with more power. Now, the other big plus for standalone gear is kind of in the name, it's standalone. A Groovebox doesn't require a computer. Some of these machines don't require external power. They have built-in batteries that allow you to use them at the park or anywhere without having to plug in power. And even the ones that do require power, you can use something like a ripcord cable and an external battery pack to power your machine anywhere you want. For a lot of people, that's the sell, right? It's not looking at a computer screen, it's hardware interface, and it's portability. Make anything anywhere. And that's another ethos that's really important to me, right? And that's why the iPad is a really good middle ground for me, because the iPad has a really good battery. You can plug in a hardware interface, you can plug in some headphones. With the pros, you have to use an adapter, which is annoying. But I agree, and I relate to wanting that portability. And I think that's why the iPad is so exciting, because you get so much power in such a small portable package. A lot of people also thrive from limitations, and I think that's true of most creative work. For me, I feel pretty comfortable finding a couple presets I like when I'm building something and then running with it. That's been one of the best benefits of running this channel, is a bunch of my videos are just making a song from scratch. And for me, those aren't always, in fact, they're almost never songs so far that I've gone on and finished and released under my name, Dylan Paris. You can find my music on Spotify, my album There's Something Better, link below. Be honored if you check that out. But anyway, most of these songs are just kind of practice for me. I pick a couple of sounds, I start creating some melodies, I add some more sounds, and then you've got a stew going. You've got a whole track, you put it on YouTube, people check it out, it's great. I get better as a musician, and I show people my workflow, which I think can be helpful. I've definitely gotten feedback that people enjoy seeing how things are made because it can kind of show them something they didn't know, and I've found that to be true for myself as well. Watching a lot of other YouTubers, I've definitely learned a lot from watching other people's workflows. Anyway, I digress. This is just to say, as of today in May 2021, I no longer own any DAWless gear, like any truly standalone gear. I sold the MPC Live and my Korg Wave State, which I still had, for a total of about $1,180 to go towards the iPad Pro I recently purchased. Once I sell the iPad Air I've been using, I'll break even on getting the new iPad. And I'm really excited to show you what can be done with the iPad, especially as new features and new software is introduced. I got a lot of feedback on my last M1 iPad video, basically saying, you bought this machine because you heard rumors or you think software is coming to it. And for me, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what the video is about. Thank you for describing it. I am an early adopter in a lot of ways. I had a Zune back when there was Zune Pass, years before there was Spotify. I like to be on the cutting edge of technology. I have both new gen consoles. I like this stuff. And so many many of the limitations of the iPad are software based, but software is often a chicken and the egg problem with hardware. By introducing the M1 chip into the iPad Pro, there's a really good chance that more substantial software can come to the iPad now. You can imagine a scenario in which it's easier to bring over Mac music software if the chip inside the iPad is the same. Now, I don't think they're going to bring full-scale Mac OS to the iPad. I just think that it'll become easier to create more universal apps or to port over an app because your hardware's in parity. And so if you like iPad music stuff, keep eyes out on future videos. The iPad gets here tomorrow and you can best believe I'll be making stuff. I'm a little late to the unboxing game. I didn't get mine early. I'm not a fancy YouTuber yet, but I do have a kind of niche viewing audience, which is music based. So it's really just going to be, I think, Henny and I making iPad Pro M1 videos for musicians. I'm not sure if Bolo got one. I'm not sure if Brandon Rico got one yet, or Jakob Hack. Shout out to Jakob Hack. He has been really supportive of this channel and just a really solid, awesome dude. I've been rambling. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking the video. It really does help the video reach more people. One more thing. Before I go, I do want to hear about your experiences with music production. Do you prefer DAWless? Do you prefer software? Tell me about it in the comments. I really love hearing how you use stuff. And if you totally disagreed with everything I said and your hardware for life, just know that I totally respect you. Like, I understand why you would do that because hardware is really cool, and I do want to hear your thoughts. All right. Okay. I'll see you later.